Somebody said that in politics, it's a good idea if you have large families, and we have a large family. And that certainly was the case when you had a congressional district. I don't know whether that translates into a national campaign, but in a congressional district, having 5 children, 18 grandchildren, it was helpful. But it was also helpful to having delivered 4,000 babies in the region as well. And you multiply that up by family members, it never hurt us politically. So in politics, you try to bring coalitions together and people together for various reasons. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, what type of coalitions are necessary to be successful in politics, because you never get everybody agreeing on everything. I mean, sometimes husbands and wives don't even agree on everything. So, but in politics, you try to bring people together. And I really believe the freedom philosophy that I advocate and that we've worked so hard on for many years, and so many of you have been involved, is a philosophy that brings people together and does not divide them. And so even on the issue of the foreign policy that we're talking about so much, and I'll spend some time on that, is foreign policy is very attractive to conservative constitutionalists, and they understand the traditions of our country and non-intervention, as well as individuals who consider themselves liberals and of the left and on the democratic side. So there's no reason in the world that foreign policy should be divisive. It should bring a lot of people together. On the issue of civil liberties, that should not be divisive either. Everybody's interested in having their personal freedoms. You don't have to be a left-winger to say, well, you don't need to have the government in our bedrooms. Everybody should be attracted to that, as well as the market system. Even those from the far left today, very few of them brag about, what I really want is socialism. They're out of Hollywood and they like their money and they do a lot of things that they talk about. They don't condemn free enterprise, and most Americans endorse free enterprise. So if you take those 3 major areas, such as the foreign policy, free enterprise system and freedom, and then personal liberty, all of a sudden you have the vast number of people in this country who would say, I endorse that. That makes so much sense. Our problem, though, in politics is everybody has an exception. Business people can be for free enterprise and say, yeah, I'm for free enterprise and free markets, except when I need a contract from the government, or except when I need this subsidy someplace else over here. And some would say, yes, personal liberties are very good as long as people do the right thing. But if they do things I don't approve of, then you have to have the government telling them what they ought to do and what they ought to read and what they ought to look at. And that is the problem, that there are too many exceptions. Everybody believes in the freedom philosophy in general, and they know the American traditions. The American traditions have been great. We have been blessed to have lived in a country where the founders were wise enough to put so much of this information into our traditions as well as into the document, the Constitution. And that is the reason I'm a stickler and I'm known for it, and I think this is something that we need to restate and work diligently for, and that is stick to the Constitution. So very simply, the freedom philosophy, that is that of the Constitution and our American tradition, is a worthy philosophy that we should promote. Putting groups of people together to win election, I think, is very important. I think on this foreign policy issue, there's no reason in the world a Republican candidate could not bring together many independents, many Republicans, and many Democrats, because the Democrats are weak on this issue as well. Bring them together and say, what is wrong with the foreign policy that was devised by the founding fathers of this country? Have a candidate that would appeal to both conservative Republicans and liberal Democrats that talk about personal liberty, allowing you to make up your own mind about your personal lives with one condition: you can't hurt other people, you can't defraud other people, you can't hurt other people's property, but you are going to be tolerant enough that if they do something in their own quiet, voluntary way in their bedroom, we can't police it anyway, so just leave it alone. And recognize that that same liberty is what gives us our freedom to practice our religion. It's identical. It's leave us alone. There's disagreement. There's probably many, many different groups represented here in the church, and we have different beliefs, but we should be left alone. We shouldn't be imposing our will on other people. So the freedom to allow people to do the things you don't like means that you'll have the freedom to do the things that you like. And the same thing on economic policy. I have been a stickler for sound money. I do not believe you can have a sound economy without a sound monetary system. Just today I read an article in the paper that they brought up one of those ships again, and I think it was the biggest haul ever, and they just had tubs and tubs and tubs of gold coins. I didn't read the whole story, but you can assume it might have been done in the bottom of the ocean for 500 years, and they bring that up, and it's as good as gold. You know, it is. What would have happened if you put a Federal Reserve note away in 1913? When the Fed took over, it would be worth 4 cents in purchasing power. And it didn't even suffer the consequence of salt water. Salt water would destroy it in 5 minutes. The monetary issue is a good economic issue, it's a good moral issue, it's a good political issue because inflation wipes out the middle class and it hurts the poor people. And they say, well, there is no inflation. I saw the day they gave out these. They said inflation was only going at 5%, and the markets went up sky high. And in the middle of the report, it said that the cost of medical care was 8.4%. Well, what if you have repair bills and gasoline bills and hospital bills, and that's the major part of your expense? You might have a 15% inflation rate for all we know. That's why inflation is a big, big issue. So sound money, dealing with the business cycle, and inflation is key. But free markets produce. If we're humanitarian, if we are concerned and want to help poor people, you have to believe in free markets, and you have to do this because socialism, welfareism does not work. It eventually wipes out the middle class and impoverishes a country, and that is why the Soviet system failed. It didn't fail because we beat them militarily. It failed because they could not sustain themselves with a socialist system. We're not socialists, but we're interventionists, and we have a welfare state which is going in a direction. I believe there will be a major economic crisis in the next 5-10 years, who knows? And I think there's going to be a dollar crisis, and I think this country will have to make a major decision on what type of government they want. The government that we should have is the government that protects liberty and not strives to intrude on our freedoms. And that involves a sound foreign policy, sound economic policy, and one that allows you to do like you would like, as long as you don't hurt other people. And I thank you very much.